Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Russell, and today I'm here to talk to you about my book that I wrote, now available on Amazon, How I Became Pain Crisis Free from Sickle Cell Disease. So, this book is basically a short read about my process of having a stem cell transplant in order to help cure my sickle cell disease. Um, so, basically, I had sickle cell disease, beta thalassemia. And for those of us with sickle cell disease knows that there are different types. So this is my experience with having sickle cell beta thalassemia disease. So basically, while staying here in Georgia, having one of my many episodes that I tend to used to have, I would usually have a pain crisis maybe 3 times a year. One definitely during the summer, one for sure during the winter, and maybe one would pop up like during the fall. So basically, each time the season changed, my pain crisis would be severe. Like, can't move, can't go to work, just in agony pain. My last pain crisis before having my stem cell transplant was back in, I want to say 2017. I received my actually received my transplant in 2019. So as of this month, March 2022, I'm actually 3 years post transplant without having any no pain crisis, no pain whatsoever. I'm not on any medications. I'm off all my post transplant medications. So, for those of us with sickle cell, know that we have to take, well, some of us have to take folic acid, hydroxyurea, and our daily like pain management medicine. Right now, I'm not on any of that. Um, so, like I said, I had my transplant back in 2019. My brother was actually my donor. This book talks about the process, how I became pain crisis free, now available on Amazon. This book actually talks about the process of what I went through, how I had to qualify to even get the transplant. It also talks about how a nurse actually told me about this transplant while I was in the hospital having my pain crisis back in 2017. Not my hematologist, who I saw regularly, didn't let me know this was an option. It was just a nurse who came in doing her daily rounds and like, hey, you talking to me and my mother, have you guys considered transplant? And as I mentioned in this book, I heard about it before from one of my best friends, but when we discussed it, the option was only available to our knowledge in Chicago, I believe, and I'm here in Georgia, so that wasn't going to work at all. So when I heard about this a few months later, like I said, when I was having a pain crisis, to find out I was here in Atlanta, and it was fairly new. They were newly offering this. The stem cell transplant wasn't new, but it was new to sickle cell patients that they were offering it to, because normally it would only be available to cancer patients. So, needless to say, once I qualified, I was only like the second person that they actually, the second sickle cell person that they actually done this stem transplant on. Um, and it was right here in Atlanta, at the Blood and Bone Marrow Transplant Group of Georgia at Northside Hospital. Um, so I went through the process, and it's a process. I talk about it in this book again. It's a process I had to go through pre-transplant workups, I had to, because at the time I stayed 50 miles outside of Atlanta, I and my caregiver had to move closer to the hospital so I can go to the appointments and the treatments every day leading up to my transplant. Um, and then that in itself was also a financial strain because basically, okay, so I'm getting to evolve it, but basically, my husband, so I had to stop working, of course, which I was already on maternity leave from just having birth to my son. And I talk about that in this book, how I became pain crisis free. Right after a year later is when I decided to get transplant. So of course I wasn't working. So my husband works in full time. So basically he was kind of taking care of two households because I was staying in Atlanta at the apartment while he was still holding down the home where we were staying at. And yeah, I had to have a caregiver for my children, of course, because I wasn't going to be able to do it. I was, trying to get cured, and I had a caregiver for myself, which was my sister. And then my mother was the caregiver basically to my children and my husband because he had to go to work and she had to be there for the kids while I wasn't there. Yeah, so like I was saying, I had to take a pause. She had to be the caregiver for my kids while I wasn't there, picking my oldest up from school and my youngest at the time from daycare. So during the pre-workup, which I talk about in the book, um, it was very hard. I had to go to appointments every day, early in the morning. It basically felt like a job. It felt like an 8-hour shift of getting medicine, seeing doctors, doing pulmonary function tests, blood work, just everything. Um, During the process, chemotherapy was involved to basically completely wipe out everything. And for my donor cells to take, basically, to stay in there. I won't get too medical because I'm not a doctor, but I'm just talking about it in the best way I know how without being too medical. My book, How I Became Pain Crisis Free, talks more about that. Like I said, my donor was my brother, my younger brother. I'm the oldest. I have a younger sibling, younger brother, and a younger sister. At first, we was going to use my sister, but we found out that she actually had sickle cell trait as well. This whole time, we thought she didn't have the trait at all. But then they decided to use my brother because they felt that the male was stronger. And we didn't want to jeopardize my sister's chances of having children in the future. Mind you, she was only like 23, I want to say, or 24 when when this was going on. So she's still very young. She has time for all that. Um, so my brother was my donor. Basically to him, he didn't have to go through everything that I had to went through. It basically was like drawing blood for him. And the medical experts did everything and picked out the stem cells that they needed, the bone marrow, and did they thing on the back end. Then the day of transplant, it was basically like getting a blood transfusion because it looked like blood, but it really wasn't. It was like these stem cells that came from the blood. But after the transplant, of course, I had to be closely monitored. I did fairly well. I don't think there were any major hiccups. There were a couple times because you're still immunosuppressed. So I guess like I did pick up like a reaction. I got sick somehow, a virus or something that reacted in my body. But they, like I said, I went to the doctor, the hospital every day, so they caught it immediately. But I did have some type of reaction, and it caused me to swell up very quickly. Um, Back then, if you were a part of my family or donated to my GoFundMe page or a part of Uline, my husband's job, you'll probably notice that my face will swell up. Well, that's because I had a reaction to something and I got sick. So, anyway, they did what they had to do, and that got cured immediately. But so far, now, also in this book, I talk about how today, March 2022, I'm 3 years post transplant, and I haven't been had a crisis. Now, the one thing I will say is how I became pain crisis free from sickle cell disease. I became cured from the disease part. I still, however, have the trait. So that's what I want all you viewers out there to know. Yes, I'm sickle cell disease free, meaning I don't have any pain crisis or anything. As most of you know, if you just have the trait, you really don't have pain crisis like that. It's just that you have the potential to pass it on to your children, and if you choose to have kids or whatever, or you choose a partner, you know, if your partner has sickle cell trait also, like it was the case with my parents, both of them had the trait, you could potentially have a child that could have the disease henceforth, like I did. Both my siblings only had the trait. Well, I can tell you that I got my two, and I don't plan on having no more, because while I'm making this video right now, my youngest 3-year-old is taking a nap. So this is something that has been heavy on my mind and my heart that I've been wanting to do, to release this video, but I'm doing it now. I feel like people need to know. I know people may mention sickle cell disease, but to actually have a person who actually have it, been through it, still have the trait, I can share my experiences with other people and hopefully help them, or hopefully pass on some information that they didn't know that viewing this video they may know, or going to purchase this book, How I Became Pain Crisis Free from Sickle Cell Disease, may help them. In this book, I talk about like the number of things I went through, the insurance portion of it. Yeah, my insurance, which was my husband's insurance through his employer, 100% cover everything. But as you heard me mention earlier, I had to create a GoFundMe page because it was a huge adjustment, because there were still co-pays for all the medicines I had to take. Still had to, since I had to live in the apartment, still had to get groceries, still had to have gas. The people who were helping me out, they left their whole life and everything in South Carolina. They still had their bills. So it was just, it really took a team. Not only did my mother, my brother, my sister help, my in-laws helped a lot. Nana and Papa helped. Me, my help. My husband's co-workers and friends help. If you came by and brought them a casserole while I wasn't there, you helped. Like, if you just called to check on me, extended family, like there were so many help, so many people that helped, people who called and checked in on the people who helped me, because I know it was hard on them as well. You got my husband who's working, worried about his wife, maintaining. You got my mother who's basically there all the time for me. Like, basically, we're going into new territory with this stem transplant thing, and me having chemo for the first time. She's worrying about me as her daughter. You got my sister who's worrying. She's worrying about me, and she's the youngest. It was just so hard. You got my in-laws and extended family who's worrying about me, and also their son. You know, this he's going through a lot, not only financially but in his mental. It really took a whole tribe, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped, everyone who donated, everyone who sent me a prayer. Um, just everything you did that helped supported what I was doing. I'm here to say it paid off. I'm here. I'm well. I have started traveling more. I'm just enjoying every little moment I get to enjoy with my children. Um, I have a newer outlook on life now. I can see past, at first I gave myself I don't like to say it, but I would be really nervous and scared about not seeing my oldest graduate or making it to 18 because of how often I was having pain crisis. Um, there were days of like, it was really hard. Let's just put it like that. But those days are behind me. I'm just looking forward to the future, and hopefully I help someone with this video or this book have became pain crisis free from sickle cell disease. Hopefully this helps someone, and I plan on uploading more videos as I'm talking right now. I feel good. Like, I just want to share the information and share the knowledge with you guys. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for taking time to look at my video. And you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.